Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via Semartic of Radio 107.9 FM, respective radio stations island-wide, online viewers, and Tel TV Plus Channel 15 viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Grisha Helijo Martin, to address you. Minister Helijo Martin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika, and a pleasant good morning to everyone. Good morning to the media. Good morning to those listening and viewing online. Good morning to our Prime Minister. And good morning, Swaliga. I want to start by first and foremost thanking everyone. Heartfelt thank you to the people of St. Martin for the coming out and voting on August 19th, snap elections. I'm especially grateful for those of you that supported me and the Democratic Party. This election was a perfect 70th anniversary gift for us. And people have spoken, and their message is clear, that they are tired of the political games. Now we must work together for the good of all, and I'm committed to serving everyone regardless of their vote or not. And the snap election results, it kind of gives us hope, hope for a more stable government. And then there's a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm confident that together we can accomplish great things in the next 4 years. Today, I just want to give some updates and some announcements, and then open the floor for any questions that the media may have for me. I want to start with an update on the new marketplace, the beautification of Phillipsburg. This remains a priority for the Ministry of TIAD. We've encountered some technical issues that have delayed the progress of the project slightly, but the tropical storm Ernesto also threw a little monkey wrench in the plans. But we are in constant communications with the vendors to let them know what is happening, and we hope to relocate them to the pavilion as soon as we erect this. And we're looking forward to completing the project on schedule. As I said before, the new marketplace is the first step, but a major step in the beautification of the whole of town, right now, right up to the harbor. And I'm more convinced each day that we must make our capital look like a real attractive modern day capital. That's why every day I'm on the Minister of Rami to keep town clean every day, because my phone rings off every day. So I'm on him every day to make sure that whoever's assigned to town to keep it clean at all times. The Winair Easy Air saga. Negotiations are in the final stages now to resolve what appears to be a conflict between Winair and Easy Air, or rather the aviation authorities of St. Martin and Curaçao. I've been in constant contact with my colleague in Curaçao, Minister Charles Cooper, and both of us are eager to put the matters behind us in an amicable, fair, and just matter, based on the principle of friendliness and reciprocity. Once we have dotted the I's and crossed the T's, I will inform you of what we have agreed upon very soon. Regarding the STA, just an update there, as we work together towards strengthening our tourism sector and the establishment of the St. Martin Tourism Authority, it remains a priority for us, a top priority. We're currently awaiting nominations for various stakeholders for candidates to serve on the Supervisory Board of Directors. And additionally, we are in the final stages of an experienced interim manager to lead the authority's setup and lay a strong foundations for its Virgin Voyages. I recently announced that Virgin Voyages will make its inaugural call to St. Martin on December 6th. This is and additional calls are planned for December 20th, and further voyages scheduled for July 3rd and July 31st and February 10th. Virgin Voyages offers an exclusive cruising experience designed for travelers between 35 and 55. And who are active, vibrant, and seek unique adventures. This cruise line is known for its commitment to authentic, smaller tours and caters to a high-value class of passengers. It is our intention to use this as a launch pad to attract Virgin Atlantic Airways to St. Martin. This will lead obviously to an increase in the numbers of UK visitors to our island. The possibility of home porting for an exclusive segment of our cruise industry as well. An update on the FCCA conference. We are firing on all cylinders to make the FCCA 30th anniversary conference, which we will host from August 21 to the 25th of 2024, a huge success. The steering committee will be meeting this week to continue with their planning. I'm part of that steering committee. I'll be meeting with the airport, the harbor, and the tourist office. I think tomorrow we're set to meet. And the conference is expected to attract, as I stated before, 800 to 900 participants. And we must put our best foot forward and roll out the red carpet for them. Among those who will be coming are top cruise executives and investors. The airport is still on track, and I am told to be completed on October 8th. And this is critical because we want our visitors to have a pleasant, seamless experience from the time they arrive to the time they leave. I also had this week a meeting with American Airlines. We held a very positive discussion with representatives of American Airlines this week. They disclosed that their load factors have been 90% and above, and they will return to 3 daily flights weekly in October, with up to 7 daily flights on weekends. The airline flies presently from Charlotte, Miami, Philadelphia, and New York, and discussions will continue to reopen gateways such as Dallas, Texas. Ticket prices are 20% lower compared to the same period last year, and the lower fares actually drove demand, which in turn resulted in more flights. With that, ladies and gentlemen, St. Martin, I leave it there with the updates and open the floor to any questions the media may have for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, I would like to invite members of the media to pose their questions for Minister Grisha Martin, and I would like to begin with Bibi Haj Shah of SMA News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Ruleika. Good morning, colleagues, ministers. Good morning. Minister Heiliger, the hot topic today is the decision taken or the press release sent out by BTP regarding Starlink. What laws under legislations are in place for any company that decides, even if Starlink or any other, to do beaming into satellites, which is in space? And also, do you believe, Minister, that people like the easy way out or the cheaper way out, or people are looking for services? Besides that, BTP is responsible for giving out of license for concessions and license. Also, are they also not in charge of supervising the quality of service provided by these providers? And what exactly is your position on all of this development regarding Starlink and BTP?
Okay, so that's a fully loaded question. So I'll start with a full story on that. So when I just got into office about 3 months ago, I was informed by BTP that there's a legislation in the pipeline to allow them to empower them to put fines on services, because they don't have the law is not there to allow them to empower them to fine companies like Telecom and Flow that are not giving services up to par. So we're busy with that legislation, and I'm pushing that legislation hard because, as you can see, our services has not been up to par. Any company that wants to do business in St. Martin has to go through the process of applying for concession. Starlink has an agreement with the French side, but our island is so tiny that it also beams over to the Dutch side. So now we are, we made a strong statement this week stating that anyone that's selling Starlink antennas are not allowed to do that because Starlink has no concession. It is not fair that Flow and Telecom are paying their dues and not Starlink. So with that, Starlink has to go through the exact same process as Flow and Telecom. We're not saying that they can't do business in St. Martin. We do believe in fair competition, and we do believe that our people, the consumers deserve a quality service. So with that, we'll see how far that goes. But right now, as it is, Starlink does not have a concession agreement with BTP, and we're looking to maybe clarify that and get that done.
I checked Starlink website and they said they're starting business on Saint Martin, not Saint Martin, on Saint Martin as of October 2025. This means that there are some kind of negotiations taking place.
Yes. There
So-
is right now discussions. I did mention before that we are in discussions with Starlink. So now they're going to go through the process. Until that concession is done, we cannot allow the antennas to be sold.
Then what is BTP doing to
I
make
just-
sure that there is optimal services to all the businesses that are suffering and all the people that are suffering?
Then, BB, you're not understanding the purpose of what BTP does. BTP is a regulator. We cannot have companies come in here and not pay their dues. BTP is doing that part, making sure that Starlink has a concession to allow them to continue to do the sell services on the Dutch side of St. Martin. So that is what BTP is doing. BTP is doing its job. You can't come here and sell services free and don't pay the dues to our regulators. So that is the job of BTP. You will be hearing from BTP as soon as possible, as soon as they have something in place with Starlink. It's not that you just, we cannot be continue to be lawless. You understand what I'm saying? So that's mainly why BTP did that. Let them know that, hey, we don't have a concession with you. You cannot have your antennas sold here until you have a concession agreement with us. And that's mainly the focus.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, BB. I would now like to invite Emily of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm going to continue with the discussions about Starlink. I think, so number one, what's the time frame in terms of negotiating that concession agreement? Because I think there's a sense of urgency. Number one, Telecom is clearly in financial problems, has laid off staff. Telecom has demonstrated not a really rapid approach to improving the quality of their services. For example, the SMR P1 line that was just recently repaired has been out of operation for about 8 years.
7 years.
7 years, okay. And the Starlink option as a backup option for businesses, for residents, has become critical because nowadays, as services become cloud-based, given the fact that we're in a hurricane zone, this also gives you resilience in the event that there's a hurricane, that you can take down the dish, put it back up. So there's I think, a real critical urgency to solving this. So what is the fastest, what is the time frame that you can put towards negotiating a concession agreement? What are we looking at?
I don't think it will take no more than a few weeks to get a concession done. Shouldn't be an issue with that. Once now we have their attention to sit with us at a table, in a few weeks they can have the concession and we can continue. Like I said before, we believe in free enterprise. We believe in making sure that our people, St. Martin, the community, has quality internet service. And as for your concerns with Telecom, we met with Telecom. The CoM has met with Telecom on many occasions. We just met, I think, this week, right, Prime Minister? Yep. This week. And they assured us that they have multiple projects ongoing to mitigate their services, to make sure that their internet service and their mobile service is up and running. So we foresee between the last term of the year and the last quarter of the year, beginning quarter of the year, that everything will be up and running seamlessly. SMPR1 will be connected it's connected already, it's repaired, but now they're just going through the final connection. So that means now that they will have now their own pipeline. Internet service should be running better. And they are looking also to go into 5G very soon, and they are working on that as well. So between, I hope, the last quarter and the first quarter of 2024, 2025, Telecom service should also be up to par. But that legislation that we're working on will allow us to come after them when the service is not up to par. Right now, we don't have that whipping stick in our hands, so I'm working on making sure that happens simultaneously.
So just a clarification point then. So given the fact that you're mentioning it's just a couple of weeks in terms of negotiating a contract, rather than creating a sort of hysteria in the public and people worried about what to do with their Starlink dishes, because there's a lot on the island already, wouldn't it make sense just to put a hold on creating any sort of trauma in the
I
community
think
and wait
BTP
a
know
couple
exactly
weeks?
what it was doing when it did that, and BTP has been, I believe in BTP. I know exactly, I knew that that was coming out. They informed me. Internally, there's certain things we cannot divulge. There's a reason why BTP did that, and you'll see eventually the reason for that. But it's not that we're trying to push away. We're not saying that you can't have Starlink, but Starlink also has to pay its dues, and that's all that is. That's all it's about.
Thank you, Minister. Thank
Yes.
you, Emil. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Minister. The Supreme Court upheld the decision from arbitration with Telem about Telem having to pay Mayor 3.7 million. Are the jobs of the employees guaranteed? What does this mean for the company, and what is going to happen to the Telem building? Is the sale a plan to? Is there a plan to sell and to use the money to pay off Mayor?
Okay, so that part, they have been aware of that. Mayor, that court case has been ongoing for the last 2-3 years. So I don't think that it will present employees that's there. I'm sure they kept that in mind during the time when they released, or not fired, but let go 2/3 of of the employees. So I don't think that will affect the employees as of now. And you heard me mention that in a interview, and I think the Prime Minister also mentioned that in online somewhere. What there is the possibility of they're looking to sell the building, and their idea is to maybe consider putting the Parliament building there. We still haven't ironed out all the kinks. We're busy with that, but it'll be great to just have the Parliament building there. It can also save Telem and assist Telem with financial means, but we're still going through the internal process of financially what it would mean, logistically what it would mean. We still haven't ironed out the kinks as yet. It's just an idea. To me, it's a great idea. I love the idea, but I think as soon as we iron out the kinks as a CoM, the Prime Minister, who is over Telem, will come out and address the public. But we still have to have a discussion with Parliament also on that.
And Telem is a semi-government entity. The building is owned by Telem as a private ownership?
The building is owned by Telem, yes.
And then the government would buy it?
Well, we're considering that. We still have to go through the legal, like I said, it was just an idea. It was not completely ironed out. It's a great idea to consider buying it for the Parliament, and I don't know the legal ramifications on it. I don't know the financial ramifications. We're only at the idea part right now, so I can't give you all the details. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Jacqueline. We now move on to the second round. Please note this will be the final round of questions for Minister Heilige Martin. Bibi, you have the floor.
Minister, follow up on that prior to my last question. Is government still thinking? That's the clarification I'd like to ask on that. And can you give us an update on the investigation you initiated on the issuance of...
To be getting, because 4 to 6 weeks, I'm also supposed to be getting the integrity report. As soon as I receive those reports, on its final stage, they gave us a draft. We had a few inputs, some information to put there. So I think I'm hoping next week, so we'll have the one from SOAB. I will have to follow up with Integrity Chamber. So as soon as I get those reports, you will hear from me.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you, Minister. Emily?
In line with your responsibility over transportation, the buses and taxis, there's gypsy taxis on the island that everybody's well aware of. They provide an important service in the community.
It's a demand.
So why not look at legalizing that element of the transportation sector as well and fold it into your discussions?
That's exactly what we're busy doing right now, Emil. Thank you for that suggestion and observation, but that too is something. We are aware that the gypsy taxi, there's a demand for it because buses, they stop at night and people are looking for rides from work or to work. So we have to find a way to mitigate and see if we can find a way to legalize that demand and see if we can have the taxis do it or give the gypsies a permit, a brand new permit for, I don't know, so we're looking at even thinking and considering doing a traffic authority to have more structure in place for buses, for taxis, issuing of permits, everything in one. So you'll be hearing from me. That is something that we'll be keeping in consideration for sure.
Thank you, Minister. Jacqueline, you have the floor.
Thank you. Minister, I have a question that's both to you and the Prime Minister. Seven Seas Group explains on its website that a reverse osmosis requires a lot of energy, a lot of electricity to pump up the water treatment and to get fresh water from seawater. The question to the Prime Minister is about
When he
the
comes. Yes.
agreement that was signed in December to provide the French side with water. And my question to you is, there are several projects ongoing, and there was one signed in November 22 to have a $100 million water park at Point Blanche that would require
A lot of electricity.
water. And you have hotels and resorts coming up with infinity pools and new apartments in Kupkoi, each with a pool, which requires a lot of water. So I'm asking you, is the government putting tourism before the residents? Because in the end, the residents pay the price with not having electricity.
I wouldn't say the government is putting tourism before the residents, but the government is aware of all the ongoing projects and is talking to GB2Mind to make sure that they expand their capacity for this, because with all these ongoing projects. So that's mainly where we want to take it. I'll have the Prime Minister maybe give you more details on that, but GB has to, with all these ongoing projects, we can't stop them. And water-wise as well, we would have to make sure that we prepare for the future to expand and make sure that we will come into fruition maybe mid to late next year or early 2026. Projects like the water park and projects like the 2 new hotels that are coming online. I don't know what it's called, Planet Hollywood. So we are in making sure that GB can support these projects moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. That does
That's
bring
it.
us to the end of your question and answer
Thank you.
session. At this time, I would like Affairs, Dr. Luke Marcelina, to address you. Prime Minister Marcelina, you have the floor.
Good morning, the representatives of the press, the media. Good morning, members representing the DCOM, Department of Communication too. Thank you for being here to assist us. First of all, I would like to once more thank the people of St. Martin for a successful election that took place on the 19th of August. Especially, I'm very proud of my people of St. Martin, the way they have conducted themselves on this day. Although the seemingly tensions that were there in the community that were artificially kept in the air, because the people of St. Martin has shown that they are different people than that what the impression was given on social media. And for that, I'm very proud to my people of St. Martin. I want to once more thank them for the great behavior, that we had a smooth election with no incidents, and that is something great for our country. And for that, I want to thank my people of St. Martin. Secondly, we have to just continue working. We have to refocus. Elections are over. Our country are in big necessities of development, positive change. The people are in cry because of the fact that they're going through some challenging times. So for this government and this Prime Minister, the election and the politics is over. It's about now moving forward with our country to bring it to a higher level. First of all, I just want to inform that we are now busy in addressing an important decision in the Council of Ministers to commence with the process of becoming an associate member of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, known as the OECS. It's a very known organization in the Caribbean. This decision underscores our commitment to strengthen our regional partnership with other islands in the Caribbean. I'm sympathizing with the bigger concept of making the Caribbean as such a strong entity that is going to work in intense with each other. The primary discussions are being led by the Directorate of the Foreign Affairs of our government, and it's commencing shortly after the Council of Ministers has given the green light for the negotiations to start. As you know, the OECS is an international intergovernmental organization that dedicates to promoting regional integration among the Eastern Caribbean countries. At the moment, it consists of 11 members, divided between full members and associate members. And at this particular moment, we have Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These are the full member CS. And we have also associate members, and that is the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, and Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Saint Martin. A associate member, but it's not that the decision has been taken. The negotiation to see the possibility to become an member of the OE. As you know, Curaçao has recently also been accepted as an associate member of the CARICOM. We started the negotiations together in the time even before myself being Prime Minister of the country. One of the other way, Curaçao continue in the commitment of becoming a member of the CARICOM. And I do believe that strengthening regional bonds between I stand for. So we are also carefully recatching actually the process for us to start the negotiations or proceeding with the negotiations for us to become a member of the CARICOM also. Secondly, another good news is that we have actually awarded the contract for the repairs for the Joycelyn Arndale Festival Village. So that is something great, I think. We have to start taking care of our country. And one of them is, for example, nation building on heritage cultural level. And I do believe that this is a great step towards seriously working step by step to improve all aspects and dimensions of our country. The execution of these repairs will be a joint effort, of course, between the ministries of VROMI, of course, and the General Affairs, ensuring that this project is managed efficiently and effectively. As many as you know, the Joycelyn Arndale Festival Village is a cherished venue in our community, well known for hosting for St. Martin the annual cultural and carnival festivities, as well as numerous local and international shows. Unfortunately, this village sustained severe damage since 2002 was really our people deserve, and that's why the government all reparations to bring this carnival village back up to par. Assisting the police force of St. Martin. Counter meeting with the VKS, they expressed their great astonishment is that never been insured. We use them, they go outside, and the tourists of St. Martin, they to help us, back us up, make us feel safe. There were never in the past government interested to insure us while we are performing our duties. I was quite impressed with that statement, and we realized it and organized it, and the VKS is, as of coincidentally, the Friday before election. I wanted that per se. That was, I think, the 17th, the 16th of August. The VKS, with proud I announce this, they are individually, all the members are insured. So in case they are on duty and something happens to them, they are all insured for Country St. Martin. And I think that they deserve that we start to treat our people good in a responsible way. So I'm proud also because the VKS falls under my authority as Prime Minister to inform the people of St. Martin that we are not only grateful and thankful to the contribution of VKS for the public order, for example, but that we have an obligation towards them too. And they are insured now, and that is for them a big relief when executing their duties. The topic GB is the next one. GB as such, we have experienced, of course, the crisis that is, of course, still going on. The task of government of St. Martin is to guarantee sustainability in energy supply for the people of St. Martin. As you know, we had the immediate action plan with the containers. I promised St. Martin them on the 10th. It became the 13th that they were functional on the grid of St. Martin, but they are all functional. They are adding an extra 10 megawatt to the grid for Country St. Martin. Now, the second phase is that we are now awaiting 20 additional megawatt to add to the grid of St. Martin, next to the 10 that we have now. And those 20 megawatt additional containerized generators are going to be expressed in 20 feet containerized generators, each producing average 1 megawatt. So if you have 20 of them, it's 20 times 1 is 20. So we are expecting 20 feet containers to add to the grid. I have been informed by the management of GB that the first batch of the 20, it's in 3 batches, they're going to ship them, that the first batch shipment of containers are already departed. So in total, I expect that in 5 to 6 weeks from now, we will have the majority of the 20 feet containers here on the island to add to the grid. Thirdly, we are going to receive coming Friday the end result of Energy Nautics about the comprehensive vision plan for renewable energy. I'm still awaiting the end report that is being done in cooperation with the NRPB. And of course, the direction of utility for St. Martin, but for the world, is also renewable vision on energy supply, and we are working there, awaiting the report. It's going to always be a combination of all the possibilities that we have for the energy for Country St. Martin. And next to that, we are now busy starting the official negotiations for a loan, but that is, we are in the preliminary phase. It has been announced by us, through me, to the BZK, for us to see if we can get a loan for us to purchase the 3 big machines, each producing approximately 9 to 10 megawatt. We're talking actually of the 27 megawatt, as for example, engine 19 was one of them. And we're going to try to see if we can purchase additional 3 generator units, that these are the big ones, each producing 9 megawatt on their own, adding a 27 megawatt to the grid in that form to actually bring back a sound, sustainable balance between production and demand for the energy of St. Martin. I said it in the past already. We have had some moments that we could have done something, but we're not going to go back to the past. We're moving to the future, and that means that we have to just bring back a great balance between production and use of energy. And once we have a good balance, parallel with that, we are going to invest future in renewable energy, in which solar panel will be, of course, part of the contribution of energy production for country St. Martin. I think that is what I would like to, for now, say for St. Martin, to the media, what have been done in the last week after this hectic election. But as I said, it's over. It's back to your office and just do what is good for the country, for the future of St. Martin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister Marcelina. I would now like to invite members of the media to pose their questions. Bibi Hatshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Prime Minister, I'd like to remind you that I asked a question regarding Telecom, and if government is planning on selling Telecom, monopolizing, if you can give me that answer after. And can you tell us, Prime Minister, recently we were invited to the signing of a declaration of intent with 4 political parties that will form the new government. Mm-hmm. At what stage are we right now? Have you had the coalition agreement signed, and has that been sent to the governor yet? What about ministers? We are hearing a lot of bubbling in the street, a lot of stuff we're hearing about infighting, party disagreement. Have the ministers been selected, and have their names been submitted as yet for screening?
Yes. First of all, we have analyzed the outcome of the elections. It sent an evident expression of sentiment of the people of St. Martin that we can agree on. The people are tired, they're fed up, and they're not amused by the way politics has been conducted in the recent past. So I think that is what they have expressed also in the result of the elections. After we analyzed, and I analyzed, and the other political parties also, the result of the elections, we came to a conclusion, each of us, and we settled to sign, as you were there too, a intention declaration. And that intention declaration is that we commit to sit seriously with each other on the table to see if we can get to a governing accord. And after the governing accord is signed, the next step will be, that is the third step, is to go over to the crystallization of a government program that will be based on the governing accord. The first phase being the intention declaration has been signed, and now we are sitting with each other to reach to the governing accord. Once you're sitting negotiation, the governing accord, you have to sit and feel each other out about the different areas that you would like to govern on. Vision on healthcare, vision on education, economic growth for the country, to mention a few. What are we going to do with the infrastructure? And once you have a common ground of agreement that you will express in your governing accord, then you will sign that one. And then from there on, the governing program will be then based on the governing accord. And most of the time, a governing program is being signed 3 to 4 months after you sign a government. A government program will be signed 3 to 4 months after you sign your government accord. And why? Because once you sign the accord, you're going to go back in government, in this case we were in, and we're going to line up what is government currently doing, what are the priorities, do they all fit in what we want again as a new coalition, and see how we can actually accommodate all the desires that we had, together with the new ideas that we have, to make actually a good guideline for policies and government decisions for the future. We are still, so intention declaration has been signed, and now we are going to work on the governing accord. While, as usual, St. Martin is already fighting or thinking that there is disagreement about ministers. That's not the case. We are just thinking about the bigger picture, realizing the challenges of this country. The minister is the one that is appointed to facilitate the country for us to move forward. Each coalition partner will get some ministries, and they will have to make sure that they appoint responsible people with great vision, with great capability to move forward the vision of the government that is formed. So appointment of ministers is at this particular moment not the main topic of discussion. It is for each coalition partner has to decide for themselves, present their candidate, and from there on we move forward. That is the way it is. And hopefully we will be able to, this week or beginning of next week, be able to get to an agreement for a governing accord after signing the government agreement.
Can you tell
Or
me?
the intention for declaration, sorry.
All right, and can you tell me about Telecom, the situation?
Yes. Your question about Telecom is, as Mr. Lee said, Telecom is going through some challenging times financially. It is and remains a government-owned company. We have to take care of what we have, right? And we still, as a government, has a responsibility because we are shareholder of Telecom. We can go back to the past. We are not going to do that. It is what it is. We have a company that has been neglected, but okay, we realize that as a new government, and now we're going to see what can we do. My first priority is, of course, because I love my country, to see what I can do to save my own company. I mean, that is logical. And that is what we're trying to do now, to see how far can we go, staying responsible financially, to support the Telecom as much as possible for us to be able to maintain a Telecom as a part of our community, being part of one of our companies. And we will do the necessary effort. We are not going to turn our back to the Telecom. Of course not. It's one of our worried children that we have at this particular moment that we worry about. And of course, we're going to do whatever we can as long as it stays financially responsible for us to see what we can cooperate with and assist with to keep Telecom going for Country St. Martin. Telecom has had great contribution to the evolution of this society too, and now that things are going bad, I think we will have to go an extra mile to see what we can do for Telecom too.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Bibi. Emily?
First, good morning. Congratulations. Welcome back.
Thank you.
First, a clarification. You mentioned the repairs for the Festival Village. How is that funded? Is that via the NRPV or is that via government coffers?
It's going to cost the community some money, but nothing is for nothing in life, they say. I can even tell it's going to be approximately 1.4 million Antillean guilders. But if we want improvement, we want great development for St. Martin, we will have to sometimes do what we have to do. We know everything what we want. Every day we know what we want. This government is here to say, if you want it, let's go for it. And if we are talking about and recognizing that this Carnival Village has an essential contribution to our community, I think 1.4 million guilders being about $800,000. It's acceptable for the cultural heritage contribution that it will offer this and the following generations for St. Martin, so I can live with it.
But from government budget, not the NRPV?
Yeah, we're going to do it from government budget, yes.
Okay. And my question is, the load shedding continues.
Yes.
We are still experiencing
Yes.
power outages,
Yep.
not as long, perhaps
But,
not as
yeah.
frequently.
Yeah.
So is the intention now to keep the first set of generators in addition to the second phase? And you mentioned that you had 3 that were already en route. Can the second phase begin a phased, a partial implementation, adding to reduce the the load shedding? And GB had mentioned that they will not pass on the extra costs for this
Yes.
power generation.
Yeah.
But these generators are using diesel fuel.
Yeah.
And the fuel clause is rather vague and very difficult to figure out the realities. How do we, as the public, feel assured that the costs of the extra diesel is not being passed on in the fuel clause?
That's the first question, the last one. I will consider it. How do the people feel sure? And I think that's it. We, as a people in St. Martin, will have to have now a government that is going to bring back the trust in the people, that they really believe and accept what government is telling them. And that is what I think the task of this government. And I said it in the past already, we made a deal as a government with GEBE, that they are going to absorb the fluctuation in the fuel clause, and that will remain like that. Recently I had a meeting with the GEBE again, we touched base on it, and I got a guarantee, as they have committed initially, that they are going to, the GEBE will absorb the fluctuations of the fuel clause, and that means that the consumers will not have to contribute to a relatively elevation of the fuel clause because of the use of diesel in this case that is a little more expensive. But I think at a certain moment, if we say something, we have to commit to what we tell and inform the people. And I have to stand and say again, reiterate that the trust has to come back in our government, that what we say to the people is something that we adhere to without playing politics with. Secondly, your second question is about what about the containers that are here? We were in the crisis, we needed a fast solution. We decided to rent fast the 10 megawatt expressed in 7 containerized generators. They came, they are contributing and mitigating the load shedding. It's not enough. And those were we made a deal to rent them. But we were surprised, and we didn't know that they were all brand new. This is the first place on earth that they started working was on St. Martin, and we are very happy with them. I'm not telling you that we're going to do it. It passed through my mind, and I just discussed it with GEBE. I would like to propose to the company that is renting us the energy, the containers, if we can do something with the contract to transfer it into a rent to buy for us to have it as extra 10 megawatt for the country. And why? It took a lot of energy and logistics to install that plant there. I don't know if you pass there, but if you see it, it's a lot of work to get it so far for the containers, the generators to be functional. And we are so happy how they function that we thought it would be great if we could have that as an extra buffer instead of getting the 20, giving back the 10, staying with 20, to add the 20 to the 10 and go for the nation to 30. And in that way, seeing that we're going to get engine 19 back on track, hopefully soon, with the repairs of the smaller ones that we are now trying to fix fast, it's going to give you a little more overcapacity than what you need. That means that it's going to control the load shedding. It's going to eradicate the load shedding, that's one. And secondly, because those machines are now overworking and overtime, it would be great if we had that extra 10 moving forward in the restructuring GEB, that we can switch off one of the big ones, give it a good service, and while we don't feel it in the community. And that is, of course, that I thought last week, I'm going to try to see if I can get him, especially in a deal of a rent to owe that we have a few years to pay back. And that would be great. It gives an extra buffer for the consumption of energy and sustainability. And we feel a little more comfortable because I don't want this crisis to repeat in the future of St. Martin. But it's not it's going to happen. It's an idea that I had, and we discussed it with GEB.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Jacqueline?
Thank you. Good morning, Prime Minister. The agreement signed by former Minister Otley in December went into effect in February this year.
Which agreement you're talking about?
It's about providing the French side with water.
Yes.
Water. Were you informed about the added energy burden that represents, how many megawatts it requires to produce the extra water for the French side? And it was never mentioned how much the French side paid for this. And so do you have knowledge about this? Does it include a fuel clause for the French also? And is this going to continue? And what is the effect of the added energy burden on the whole situation and GB crisis?
Yes. At this particular moment, this government has priorities. And of course, in the times that has been signed and agreed upon, the circumstances of energy supply for the country was different than how it is now. Personally, I'm very honest with you, I did not have time to think on that follow-up aspect because the challenges were too big for the country. And at a certain moment when you govern, you have to give priorities. So at a certain moment I said, I have to solve my national crisis energy problem first before I look up to what I can do with the neighbors. That's logical that has to happen, but our problem was a too threatening crisis for us to focus or diversify our focus for St. Martin. So I'm not up to par in all details because that does not have my priority at this particular moment. I have really other priorities for St. Martin now.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we have to move on to the second round. Thank you, Prime Minister. Bibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rebecca. Prime Minister, I think 2 weeks ago, don't count me on the date, but some time ago you mentioned you wanted to appoint 3 temporary managers at NVGEBE. I am also aware that the Supervisory Board of Directors gave a proposal with the 3 candidates based on the recruitment. Can you tell us if that appointment will take place and when will it take place? And Prime Minister, I have a situation where several businesses have contacted me. And several businesses in this community, they are being accused of having conducted some kind of wrongdoing with a civil servant who was sent home without any official letter. A civil servant who is accused of probably doing hanky-panky with businesses for a government is today sent home without even an official suspension letter. Can you tell me if there are procedures in place that the Secretary General of the General Affairs have to follow prior to suspending civil servants?
Yes. Come back to the first question you had was the...
GEBE and the appointment.
Ah, yes, very good. The appointment, I didn't say we're going to come with 3 directors. I said we are looking to bring enforcement to the management team of GEBE. Good. At this particular moment, we have 1 temporary manager, but what we need, especially in GEBE, is a manager that especially specialized and is focused on the operational side and the technical part of GEBE. And that is the reason that we decided to look further in a way to expand the management team by enforcing it with a temporary manager with a focus on operations. We did not speak of a CFO, COO, or CEO. We spoke about expansion with temporary managers. That's something else. As you said, the SOAB was busy in a process of working on selection of candidates to fill on the long term the positions of the vacancies of CFO, COO, and CEO. That are 2 things next to each other. So you have, that's a long process that has to go through the Corporate Governance Council. That takes long while we have a crisis situation, and that's why we opted as a government to choose for a more acute solution approach by looking into the option of a temporary manager operations, for example. It can be that we can get everybody at the same time, but we are working on the possibility of expansion with a temporary manager operations. So the candidates that has been presented through the selection procedure of SOAB, this is for the project plan of selecting definitive CFO, COO, and CEOs. That's something else, so we have to separate those two from each other. That's one. And the second question you had was...
Regarding the civil servant that
yes, yeah. The way it has to go, if there are irregularities, if suspicion of, indication in that direction, you first have to, and there are regulations for that. It's not that impulsively you just do something. First is you have to make sure that you justify the decision of seeing to suspend a candidate, a civil servant first, what they call in Dutch schorsing. And after you have the suspension, you have to give the civil servant a face of what they call in Dutch hoor wederhoor. So you said this, I say this happens, but you have the right to defend yourself and explain what happened or whatever. As long that hoor wederhoor did not take place, you cannot just like that dismiss people. That does not exist. So in my case, for the cases that I know, there are not so many, we always follow the rules. We suspend a civil servant if necessary, on good grounds, if we think, and then we have to, of course, give them the option of defending themselves in a and we move on till we get to the right conclusion, what the right decision is following the case. That is how it must work, and that's the way I'm working at this particular moment. I cannot tell you how it went in the past, but this is how we are following the rules and regulations.
Prime Minister, I understand you explained me the situation with GEBE, but you haven't said whether or not the appointment is going to take place, whether it's the temporary or the ones that were suggested by the SOAB. You haven't said...
No. First of all, we have the intention to do it. The concept of CEO, CFO, and CEO, CFO, COO, these are all beautiful regulated in the articles of the association of the GEBE. The moment you come with an in-between crisis solution because of the threatening situation that you have yourself with your country, with energy supply, we have to make sure that we pour it in a legal frame, that it's going to be responsible, putting it in a way that legally, that it's in synchrony with the Articles of Association, and that is what we are doing now with some lawyers to make sure that we accommodate a temporary manager with accent on the operation side of the company, to do it in a way that legally the Articles of the Association permits it to happen, and we all want it. And we are going to work to make sure that it can happen, but you have an Articles of Association to respect to, and that's why we're doing it. It takes a little more time, but we are working actively on it.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Emil?
Prime Minister, we're going to go in a completely different direction.
Yes.
So as Prime Minister, you're in charge of the civil service staff.
Mm-hmm.
One of the expenses that you have are travel expenses.
Yes.
And in the past, the civil servants have kept the loyalty points, the frequent flyer miles. Has government considered not opening a government account and accruing those miles for its use, which would help to reduce its travel costs for people visiting, going abroad? They could use their miles for their own use instead of leaving them to the actual person who's flying.
Yes, it's by the way a good idea. I didn't even thought about it, but thank you for the incentive. It's a great idea to think about. Everything that we can save some money on now, it would be great for the government of St. Martin. And actually what we're looking into also is it really necessary for somebody to travel? At the other side, you have to be careful though, because you're an island surrounded by the sea, that you do not isolate yourself while the world is further developing itself. And because of financial restrictions constantly, you are actually limited in integrating in the process that contributes to evolution of your country. So it's a difficult balance, but you have to sometimes say, okay, we have to do it, let's go for it. And sometimes we say, no, we're not going to do it because it's, for example, there is an ICLAC soon coming in Trinidad. I'm going to send one person to represent because it's important. It takes place in Trinidad, but I'm not going because it's too much expenses. You try to mitigate a little to control your costs through your expenses for your country, actually.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Jacqueline?
Thank you. Prime Minister, you soon will have the third, report on the energy future for the country with Energy Nautics after the TNO report and the grid market roadmap.
Yeah.
What constitutes or what will determine which advice you will use where the country doesn't currently have the money to invest in these energy solutions. There are tens of millions available from the European Union to use for sustainable energy, for wastewater and all kinds of other projects. What stands in the way of seeking the cooperation with the French side to make use of these funds?
First of all, when I became a leader in this government, I realized that everybody knew about to support, to subsidize, to finance project. But when you went in details into it, nobody knew how it exactly worked because it's a very complicated procurement to get money from these European funds. And I have put attention to this, and I realized that we always talk about all possibilities. No, you have subsidy for that. You can go to the European side of the story, and they're going to help you. And nobody knows exactly how that works. So I have now delegated to the Minister Plenipotentiary in the Netherlands that she is going to make a work group and going to exactly analyze the procurements necessary to approach each fund that we think that we have right to apply to. And if you don't structure that, you will continue each year talking about enough money there in those funds in Europe to help us. And everybody knows there's something there for us, but nobody knows exactly what is the right way, the right procurement to follow to get those monies to help our country. And I realized that, and I said to my minister, I think that's a great task for a minister plenipotentiary as an extension arm of the prime minister and thus from the country. I want from now on for us to focus on do an inventory about what is actually what we have right to and make a guideline textbook, okay, this is the way to approach this fund, this is the way to do it on the other way, and we're trying also to do it in cooperation with organizations in the Netherlands that are accustomed to work with these funds too. So the fact to approach them sounds very easy, but they have never been approached in the past because nobody knows exactly how it works. And I said that has to stop. Now we have to get clarification in that.
St. Martin and the other islands have already gone through this process with the national energy policy in 2014.
Yes.
There was a lot of money attached to that.
Yes, and today we are 10 years further and we're in a crisis today.
Yes.
So you have to ask yourself, did we do it good in the past?
But there was money attached to it and it came with the
Unfortunately,
advisors.
Pardon?
It came with the advisors from the EU to advise you
but
how to make use of the funds.
But if nobody picks up the advices from 2014 and 10 years today you have another leader with another government, you can talk about something that happened in the past, but if nobody have done anything with it, I cannot help that. I have to just realize now something is wrong. And I have the feeling that we're missing a lot of money that we could get for our country. And that's why I said to Mrs. Gracita Arendel, that is now in the Netherlands representing us as the Minister of Minister Plenipotentiary, please, let's sit now and organize this in a way that we have some comfort in our way of dealing in application for funds for our country.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Prime Minister. This does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Members of the media, any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Prime Minister of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, TeleTV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Roleika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.